One of the most common things that Brompton users or cyclists doesn't like about the Brompton is that whenever you have a flat, especially at the rear, it could be one of the most difficult thing for you to do, especially when you're riding. It's not as comfortable as a full-size bike where there's a quick release and then you can just simply remove the tires and adjust the rear derailleur. It takes a little bit of practice when it comes to the Brompton. So let's get started. So the first thing you need to do is look for a big space and make sure that your Brompton is upright, unfolded in this kind of position. As you can see, I'm turning the rear derailleur and removing the shifter cable from the 3-speed hub. So if you are an experienced Brompton rider, you should be able to do this easily. So remove the connector that has the chain. I personally use an open wrench to remove the screws on the left and right portion. This is much more of a personal preference because I don't have the Brompton toolkit. At the same time, I find it much more sturdier. Although it does have a little bit of weight, but I don't mind. So what you see here is that I'm loosening the nut and I'm not going to be removing it all the way. So I'll just loosen it up and make sure it's just right at the tip. You don't have to remove it all the way because it's not needed. At the same time, it gives you a little bit of security that it's still there and you're not going to lose it anywhere else. At the moment, I'm just lucky because I'm at home for this demonstration. So I'm removing the air just in case, because I'm actually planning to replace the tires because the tires here is pretty much worn out. It does have cracks and I'm gonna have a long ride over this weekend. I use the open wrench to remove the chain so that you're not gonna have your hands dirty. And the next step is, once you have loosened both screws, all you need to do is try to loosen up the lock. Remember, there's a top and bottom on this. So if it's going to be your first time, try to look at it. There's an actual label where it says top. So with this kind of position, the lock is at the bottom part. So what I do, I just shake it vigorously until the lock loosens up and you can take it out. So another tip that I can show you, if you're going to be putting it back, the actual tires, and for example you have patched the hole on the tube, make sure that you inflate the tube at least 5 psi so that you can easily insert it. This is one of my personal techniques. I find it very easy and much more convenient. So after removing all the possible things that would make your tires or any foreign object inside the tires, you can put it back. As you can see, I inflated the tube to 5 psi and then place it inside the tire, and then the rim is now going on the side. You gently massage it until you push everything inside. Now, if you feel there's too much pressure inside the tubes, you can reduce the air, and at the same time you can simply massage the other side. I find this very, very easy, convenient, and much faster rather than putting in the tires first and then slowly insert the tubes. So once you are done placing the tube inside the tires, you don't have to inflate it right away because you won't be able to put it in because of the caliper. It would block. You wouldn't be able to fit it in. So make sure that the locks are pointing downwards meaning the top is pointing down on both sides. As you can see, you can easily put it in without totally removing the whole nut on the left and right side. Tighten both screws. And what I would do, I would use the open wrench. You can put the chain back onto the small cog or the large cog, depending on what the position of the rear derailleur is. At the moment, it's located or it's switched to the large cog, so you can put it there. And this is where a lot of people are confused with the rear derailleur. Just follow the pattern that I'm using. So what I did there, I placed the roller on top of the rear of the shifter, or not the shifter, the rear derailleur, and then slowly placed the RD or the tensioner onto the nut. Once you place that in, you don't have to put the tensioner back to the chain yet. Just tighten the screws on left and right, and then you can push it and then use the open wrench and put it back. That's how easy it is. Now it takes a lot of practice to do this. It took me a lot of practice to master this kind of steps because I had so many flats. Then you can put in the chain where you would be putting in for the shifter. Just slide that in and rotate clockwise. Make sure it's tight. Now shift to the lowest gear. The tip here is that you're gonna listen to the 3 clicks. Now if you're having a hard time adjusting to the 3rd click, that means it's too tight. So you have to loosen the screw so that once you go to the 3rd click, it should just, feel right, and just adjust accordingly. Now make sure you adjust the shifter up to the lowest version or to the lowest gear, and then adjust accordingly. Now, how would you know if it needs adjustment? Well, if you have a 3-speed shifter, make sure it's gonna shift to the highest gear.